Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this Durbanites FPL Game Week 18 preview. A slight change in the way we do the video today because of the cancelled game between Bournemouth and Luton. A lot of delays on the Premier League side in terms of publishing stats. So we're going to kick straight into it looking at the latest table. So Dora is on top of the table once again after losing her 13-week streak. She's now replacing Fataliteam back at the top. It's still very close between the top three, just about 20 some odd points separating them. Zakia now firmly entrenched in third spot, and a big break between third and fourth. But then from fourth to sixth, it's all very close again. Anything can change. It's just week on week. And the biggest move is there. Squish now moving up to eighth spot, finally moving out of ninth, and Mubin, once the log leader in week one, is now down to ninth, really struggling at this moment in time. So guys, because of the short timing, we're going to jump straight into the preview for this week, starting off with Crystal Palace versus Brighton. So looking at Crystal Palace, they've got three tough games coming up week on week. The first choice keeper Johnston is out, as well as Edward. And looking at the team ahead, if you're looking for some picks at good prices, Michael Olise, Eze, and Ayew are the ones to go. But looking at Brighton coming up is quite tough. Brighton still struggling with Stupinian out, March still out, and Ansu Fati, so a little bit weaker than a full-strength Brighton side. But they should be good enough for Palace, but Palace at home can be tricky. But Pascal Gross has been pretty consistent, as has Kaoru Matoma, so well worth it if you're looking for some good picks for the week. Looking at the next game, Aston Villa versus Sheffield United. So Villa have been on an insane run, going through a very tough patch and picking up 6 points against City and Liverpool. So, City and Arsenal. So a very, very, very good run. Pau Torres is out. He's doubtful at least for this week. But looking at the firepower against Sheffield United and then Burnley in game week 20, Watkins got to come up. He's hitting form again. Douglas Luiz, Diaby, Bailey, and McGinn, all of them around the same points tally, and you can just choose based on what your bank account will allow you to do. Really strong side by Villa this season. Looking at Sheffield United, no major injuries to call out from their end, but also no picks for this week. They're coming up against a Villa team that is going to be extremely hard to beat at home. Looking at West Ham and United, so on paper, West Ham are looking at this one being a tough one. They don't have Antonio up front, but we've still got Bowen, Ward-Prowse, Kudus is really firing now, and Paqueta coming fresh off 3 assists in the last week, so there's quite a bit of firepower to go there from West Ham. And Man United are really struggling with form, as well as a lot of injuries. So Dallo out, Maguire out, Martinez still out, Lindelof doubtful, Eriksen, Mount, and Casemiro missing from the middle, and Martial now doubtful to start as well. So they really are working with a shoestring team. In terms of picks, it doesn't really get better than Bruno Fernandes, probably the most consistent but super expensive. And if you want to take a punt, Scott McTominay does come up with big goals when it counts, and he's only cost 4.9. Let's move on to Fulham versus Burnley. So Fulham's been quietly gathering points as they go along as well, but now their informed frontman Raul Jimenez is out. But for this week, you might want to look at Andres Pereira, Willian, and Leno as their keeper. They go up against Burnley, who have been struggling as well, so a chance for these guys to get some points. Looking at Burnley again, Kolyosho's out from midfield, so he's one of their more consistent players. But Foster is back, so Lyle Foster hasn't been playing for a while. He's been on the injury list. He is back. He is fairly cheap. Fulham are not the best at keeping clean sheets, but not really calling out any major picks this week. Looking at Luton versus Newcastle, so Luton, we know they're capable of scoring, they're capable of making a difference. They don't have any major injuries, except for, of course, the captain that went off word after suffering cardiac arrest in last week's game. So I wonder whether he will play. According to the Premier League site, he still seems to be available, which is very strange. But no picks from Luton this week. They're going up against a Newcastle team that will be that has exited Europe now and is ready to take things on. But looking at Newcastle, they have suffered a few injuries going out. So Nick Pope is out, the goalkeeper at the back. Then you've got Scarsdale, doubtful, but actually should be able to play. Gordon, Joe Linton, Anderson, Barnes, that midfield is not in trouble. They still have a lot of backup, but quite a few doubtful. Gordon will probably play. He's been instrumental in keeping them in the game. Isak is doubtful, but Callum Wilson did have a good game against Chelsea, so chances are that he will play up front. The picks, though, for consistency, Trippier up at the back, and Gordon are our picks for this week. Looking at Forest versus Bournemouth, Forest have been on a bit of a tough run. So Serge Aurier is still doubtful. Amoni is coming in at forward. Our picks are Ilanga and Gibbs White. They've just recently appointed also Nuno Esperanto as the new coach, so they might have a bit of a coach bounce that comes up. But right now, not picking them for this week. Looking at Bournemouth, they have no major injuries to their team, and they have been on such consistent form recently, picking up big wins against United along the way as well, and looking really comfortable against Luton before that game was cancelled. Neto is a good choice for a backup goalkeeper or front-up goalkeeper for this week. But then you've got in the centre Tavernier and Billings, who have been really good with the assists, and Tavernier is quite capable of scoring goals. Really good bargain picks out of this Bournemouth team. And Dominic Solanke's been having a great season so far, over 8 goals and an assist so far in 18 games. He's really on some good form and should be good for the Forest game. Looking at Tottenham versus Everton, so Spurs looking to fight again to keep their place in Europe. They have some trouble up back. Udogi's out again with a hamstring injury, Van de Ven as well. James Maddison is still not up to speed, and Yves Bissouma is out with suspension. So looking at who to pick, Heung-min Son for sure, still expensive, but still capable of putting points on the board. Problem is his form, because he has to cover up a lot of what Madison is missing in the midfield, means that he's not as consistent as he was earlier in the season. A lot of twos along the way, and then a big 17 in 1 week. So this week against Everton and Spurs playing at home, it's possible he could shine, so calling him out here. And Dejan Kulusevski has been having a great run of form currently. He's a much cheaper option if you look at it versus Son, and quite capable of scoring the same amount of points. Looking at Everton, they're also coming on a bit of a bounce back. They've got themselves out of relegation, and now they're ready to go. They've got a tough couple of weeks coming up against Spurs and then Manchester City. Everton are not that strong away from home. They do have an injury in their ace midfielder, Doucouré. Mikalenko is also doubtful to play, so a bit of trouble there in an attacking space. Pickford's been having a couple of great weeks as well, some big points for him, so always good as a keeper or backup. Tarkowski and Mikalenko at the back have been really amazing for Everton, and such good bargain picks that allow you to keep clean sheets and sometimes get a goal. And McNeil has been scoring consistently in the last 3 games, so actually someone that you might want to include in your lineup. Looking at the next game, Liverpool and Arsenal, this is the big one for the week. Liverpool have got some tough games coming up. Arsenal, then Burnley, and then Newcastle. These are not easy games. After being held to a draw by Manchester United at Anfield, you've got to question whether they'll be able to take out Arsenal this week. Alexis McAllister might be coming back. He's now doubtful after being out for a few weeks with injury. You've got to look at Mo Salah at 13.2. He's expensive, but he's well worth it. I wouldn't captain him this week, but again, well worth a pick. Trent Alexander-Arnold's been playing in that inverted wing-back position. It's getting him goals, it's getting him points. He's still expensive, but he's scoring at about 10 points per one that you spend on him, so might be worth it to have a look, but maybe not this week. And Dominic Szoboszlai has been also one of the more consistent midfielders, mainly because he's been injury-free and so playing almost every week, and does get the odd goal, especially when it comes into these tight matches. So these are the call-outs from Liverpool side. Looking at Arsenal, only a few injuries as well. Tomiyasu's been out for the last 3 weeks, and Thomas Partey's on a long-term injury, but those are the only two worth calling out. Looking at the picks from them, Saliba, Zinchenko have been really good at the back and pretty well priced for defenders. Saka's always one to threaten from midfield and going down the wing. Kai Havertz come back into some run of form and might be the kind of awkward, gangly player that might give Liverpool a bit of trouble. Odegaard and Rice are so solid in midfield. Both of them have been scoring well over the season. Whether they can do it in this game is definitely up to you, but these are the guys that are making waves in these particular fixtures. Looking at Wolves and Chelsea, which I think is the last one for the week. So Wolves have Jose Sa, a goalkeeper who is now doubtful as well, and Neto, after being on for a while, might actually have a chance of starting or featuring in this game. So just keep an eye on that. In terms of picks, the form players are very easy to see. Chan, right up the middle, he has been scoring and really pulling things through for Wolves. Neto might be back, so again, worthwhile at 5.6 to put him in. And Cunha's definitely one of the better forwards that are coming up in the season. So all really good and well-priced picks. If you're looking to save money, as an example, to maybe bring Erling Haaland back into your team, these are some good trades to make. Looking at Chelsea, they have by far the best 3-week fixture list ahead on paper, but they are without Robert Sanchez. He's out from a goalkeeping point of view. Reece James, the captain, has been in and out this season. It's quite terrible what his fitness has been like, but he's out long term. And Ben Chilwell, who's one of the more influential defenders, is still out. Looking at the picks, Raheem Sterling's been probably the best points getter this season. Probably one worth looking at against the Wolves team. Cole Palmer, the youngster from Man City, has been making a big difference, taking penalties, taking some dead ball situations as well. Well worth the points. And last week, becoming the most differentiated player. And then, if you're looking for a striker up front, especially in this game week, and looking at the next 3 game weeks coming forward, Nicholas Jackson is just about hitting some form again. Might be worth a punt at 6.9. He's not a bad choice, considering the Man City players are not playing this week, and neither are the team from Brentford. So you've got a few gaps, and Nicholas Jackson might be the guy you need to fill that gap. Now, looking at the fixture rating for this week, let's look at the ones that are more favorable. Aston Villa have gone through their baptism of fire and come out the other end and have some good fixtures ahead. Bournemouth, because of their form, we've also called them out at possible points coming in. Chelsea, by far, you see the best lineup coming up in the next 3 or 4 weeks as well. And then you've got Fulham, Newcastle, and Tottenham, where they do have some tough fixtures, but you could actually schedule around that depending on your squad split. And then looking at teams to avoid, so Liverpool have now gone through a bit of an easier period where it saw them climb up the table, but now they've got Arsenal and Newcastle in a 3-week spell. With Burnley in between, might be a chance for them to drop some points in players and in the league itself. Then Burnley, Everton, Forest, and West Ham all facing some tough challenges along the way. West Ham probably more on paper than on the field, but you never do know. But that's what we have for this week, guys. Again, a very different format, maybe one that you like. Drop me a like, drop me a comment. Let me know what you think, whether we should go with this new format or stick with the older one. But we did have to make the change because of the events of last week. But I hope you're enjoying it. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop me a comment. Until next week, that's all for now.